So we're here at the Fort Stewart Garrison headquarters with Colonel Townley Hedrick. I'm Kevin Larson. I'm with the Public Affairs Office, and we're going to talk about the response we had to Hurricane Matthew. Sir, if you'd like to go ahead and just...
No, Kevin, I think it's great that we take some time to talk about it a little bit. Is this our first Garrison Live Facebook stream that we've done, or have you done one? This is my first one.
This is your well, actually, you starred in a cameo in the Change of Responsibility. That was one of our first, but this is the first talking direct to our audience about
I think it's
who
great.
we are, what we're doing.
Great use of Facebook. Well, I mean, so the hurricane came on about Friday night. I mean, we started tracking it early in the week and watching it coming our way, and our Air Force guys, National Weather Service, everybody that's tied in with tracking did a great job in giving us a heads up. And I think you saw that all the way to the level of the governor, who issued the mandatory evac so folks could get out of the way. And so I think the first folks I would thank were all our Weather Service folks that tracked that thing and gave us good early warning. I will tell you, it's a little bit funny. I got here last summer and they said, "Oh, Savannah hasn't been hit by a hurricane in 100 years. It's tucked away and Florida guards us." And surprise. So welcome to coastal Georgia in your second summer.
Right.
So Hurricane Matthew hits, and the great thing was we had evacuated a lot of folks in accordance with what the governor's wishes were, and so I think we had a lot of our families that were in safe positions, and we had accountability that they had gone inland, and so then we kept behind a minimal manning of emergency crews to react to things that happened through the hurricane. So there was a crew at Hunter Army Airfield and a crew here at Fort Stewart that monitored the storm, kind of rode it out, tracked damages as they happened, and then it helped us put together a plan so that when the hurricane had passed, we were already assessing and prioritizing what we needed to get fixed. We'd had a pretty good rehearsal back in February with a tornado.
That's true.
So we'd already sort of exercised our systems, and being that this is coastal Georgia, we already put together a pretty comprehensive plan that we review every season in preparation for if a hurricane does come. So I think all in all, that was why we were able to weather it and get through it and get back to normal so quickly. So we have, I would tell you, the Canucci and their associated partner electrical companies and those linemen, holy cow, the job that they did. I mean, those guys are like the hot shots of, wildfire fighting, but it's post-storm electrical damage. And those guys, we had up to 150 of them staged here on Fort Stewart, and 16 hours on with 8 hours off, and just around the clock fixing things. So we had power restored, to the 90+% rate at both installations within 24 to 36 hours of the storm passing.
Right.
And when you can get power restored, I mean, you're saving perishable food goods, so you're keeping those costs down, and you're getting residents that want to get back in and get back to normal and check out their home and start to clean up. So really some amazing work by folks to allow all our soldiers and families to get back in and get after it. And that was happening in the local community too. I mean, so I was talking to Mayor Brown and Billy Edwards, the city manager, and Colonel Squires was talking to the local officials down there in Savannah. Really a fantastic response from everyone that was involved in getting us back to normal. That was what I was most impressed with.
So there were some frustrations out there with the power. We did get a lot of comments from some of the older housing areas on Fort Stewart. Were there any challenges with the power?
So there were, so it's on a grid system. So that's and again, this is a lot of learning for me. You have to understand it's a grid system, so we don't restore power to individual buildings one at a time. So what I've learned is you bring that power up to the grid, and you have fixed everything that you visibly can see is broken or disconnected. That's what the crews do. And then when you re-energize the grid and it shorts, now you've got to troubleshoot and find the next short in this, something you couldn't see visibly. You couldn't see the down power line because there'd been something damaged underground when a root system pulled out. So again, when you think about how hard it is to find every single thing that happens during a hurricane, power was quick, and even then you have to troubleshoot the individual buildings if your power was pulled away from your individual buildings, so that's the last set of troubleshooting. But I know if you were in one of those individual buildings that had a power problem and you saw your grid come back up, and so everyone around you's got power and yours still isn't working, then you're like, well, mine should be working. So
Right.
it's I think if you see the big picture, you got to understand, boy, power came back on really fast for the immensity of that storm that came through here.
Right. So we're getting some comments here from Anthony Hines. He wants to know, how do I get vouchers filed for my family stateside?
That's a great question. So this is what we're doing right now, and we've never done this process. So, a mandatory evacuation, and so now we are in the travel voucher claims process where we're going to help defray the expenses that were put on you and your family because you had the mandatory evac. So we just had a huddle this morning with all my money experts and all of General Rainey's third ID staff experts. We'll give some guidance to the units today, and what we're going to do is we're going to open the tax center so that we can kind of do a one-stop shop. We'll open the tax center here on Fort Stewart, and then they'll either use building 1286 down at Hunter Army Airfield or possibly the Ed Center down there. We're trying to just look at how many computer stations and the throughput, but there will be a claims process for soldiers, and here's what I know right now, given the overarching. For soldiers, you will file your mandatory evacuation reimbursement claim through the DTS system with your unit. So you'll have that authorizer and that approving official that are in your unit that will stamp it in DTS. So that'll be an electronic filing, and it should take 48 hours from when it gets filed, about 48 hours for that to get processed, and that'll be an electronic funds transfer back into your bank. For family members and for DA civilians, the way this will work, they will do a paper voucher. So DFAS, the Finance and Accounting System, has asked us to do paper vouchers. So that's what we're setting up the tax center for on Stewart and a consolidated point. So we'll have experts in there, and you bring your family in and you fill out the travel voucher, and there's a mandatory evac order that will accompany that. And so we'll assemble these packets, send them to DFAS centralized, all in one big FedEx envelope, and they think that within about 10 days of when they receive that, it'll take them about 10 days to process those paper packets, and that will pay for travel mileage, per diem, so cover your food costs, and that'll be by head count, and any lodging expenses that you had. So the most important thing for lodging expenses is you have to have the receipts, and if you stayed with friends or family, you won't get a reimbursement. So you can't, I can't have my brother write me a handwritten receipt that he charged me $100 to stay with him. It has to, if you had to stay at an official commercial place overnight or overnights, you'll get reimbursed for that. And we hope to have those centers, we hope to have those up and running Tuesday or Wednesday, and then probably Hunter, we'll do the first day here as kind of a test run to work the bugs out of what we're missing, and then the next day we'll open at Hunter also. So we'll probably try to open one day earlier here at Stewart. And I think the plan, which we're still putting together today, will have us designating days for units so that we don't get a mad rush of 2,000 people on the first day. We'll probably say Wednesday is going to be 2nd Brigade, Thursday we're going to do Sustainment Brigade, Friday let's get 1st Brigade, and so you could come in with your spouse on that designated day, but we'll let the units know and we'll publicize it on Facebook and we'll get that word out. But that's how we're going to work through this process, and it's the one thing we haven't done. We didn't have to do this during the tornado. We dealt with damage claims, but we've never had a mandatory evacuation. So this is going to be a new event for us that we'll capture and make sure we have it in our battle drill book for a hurricane evacuation next time. But it'll go smooth. We're just trying to do a little planning up front to make sure we get it right.
Definitely. So would you say, sir, that a sense of normalcy has returned to the installation?
I think so already. I mean, I feel as busy as I normally always am. No, it's I do think we're back to normal. So again, in power, when you get power up, that's the first thing, because that allows soldiers to get back, into their units, get back in the motor pool, get back to training. I mean, golly, the warfighter guys were rolling back out into the field, resetting the talks and their communications nodes on Monday. So that's pretty dang quick for a hurricane coming through. So yeah, I think we're back to normal.
Excellent. Any other final thoughts you want to add, sir?
No, I mean, what you just saw some great things. I already mentioned the electric crews, those linemen out there, but emergency first responders, police, firemen, ambulance crews. I mean, everybody was out helping others, and I think whenever you have something kind of catastrophic or something big, you see the best in humanity coming out and helping each other and being part of a team. So just on the garrison and in the communities, what a great response we had taking care of each other.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.